Good day, everyone. For our today's lesson, we will going to talk about scientific method. Our target for today is to describe the components of scientific investigation. Have you ever wondered how the construction workers build a house? They actually have plans. They also follow some step-by-step procedures in doing that. In science, scientific method is a process for experimentation that is used to explore observations and answer questions. It is a way or a step-by-step procedure in solving many problems, especially in science and researches. Now, there are 7 steps in the scientific method. The first step is observe and ask questions. We observe based on our senses. So we have sense of sight, hear, smell, taste, and touch. We can also observe based on the quality. For example, the texture and the color. And also quantity that involves number. For example, 40 ml of water. Then, after you observe, you actually formulated some question in your mind. Sometimes it is in a form of what, where, when, why, and how, or simply the WH question. You can actually formulate a good question using HOTS, or the higher order thinking skills that is based also in your critical thinking skills. Next step, do some research. Now, you can do some research by gathering some data from internet or from books or based from your observation. That's how you do some researches. Next, form a hypothesis. What is a hypothesis? Hypothesis is an educated guess. It is a tentative answer to your question. It can be an answer or it can be not. Now, if there is a good question, there is also a good hypothesis. How do we do that? By simply following a pattern. If I will do this, then what will happen? Again, the pattern is if I will do this, then what will happen? If you do that, that means that your hypothesis is a good one. Next, the fourth step, plan the experiment. So, how do you plan your experimentation? By simply preparing the materials for the actual experiment. Then, the fifth one is to do the experimentation or the actual experiment. So, the experimentation shows if your experiment will work or not, or if your hypothesis is true or false. Then, after doing some experimentation, you may now analyze your data. And then, after that, you may draw a conclusion based on the results of your experimentation. Now, the results may be aligned in your hypothesis or may partially or sometimes not. Okay? And then after making your conclusion, you may now communicate what you have learned or share your knowledge. So that will be the steps in the scientific method. To summarize the lesson, number 1 in the steps in scientific method is to ask question based on your observation. And then after do that, you may do some background research. And then after doing that background research, you may now construct or formulate your hypothesis. Then after making this hypothesis, you may now test it with an experiment. So after making your experiment, is the procedure working? If it is yes, you may now analyze your data and draw your conclusion. If it is not, you may troubleshoot procedure, especially when you are sure about the result of your experimentation, and then test it again. Then, after analyzing and draw conclusion, you may now find out if the result is aligned with your hypothesis, or if your result is aligned partially or not at all with your hypothesis. If your result is like this, you may reconstruct your hypothesis and formulate the new one, or to compare your hypothesis. Then after that, you may now communicate the results or share your ideas to everyone. Okay? So, let us recall again what are the steps in the scientific method. The first one is great. Observe and ask question. How about the next one? Good. Do some research. Next, great job. Form a hypothesis. Then the fourth one, that's the answer. Plan the experiment. Then next, very good. Do the experiment. Next, that's it. Draw a conclusion. And lastly, communicate what you have learned. Congratulations. Happy learning, everyone. I hope that you learned something today. Thank you so much.